I've experienced firsthand the heartache of not making it in football. Growing up, becoming a professional footballer was everything to me. I played at Reading, trialled at Chelsea, and then signed at Yeovil Town before my dreams were shattered by a ruptured quad. I've seen many similar stories, so I want to explore what happens to the 97% of young players who come through Premier League academies but never play a minute of top-flight football, and what happens when the dream comes crashing down.
Everything you've worked towards since you were 9, you feel like it's gone just literally like that.
I just looked and I seen like Twitter and there was hundreds of these notifications and I see my name and I was like, wow, surely not that way. I probably was in like a state of almost depression.
I want to see where the dream begins, so I've come to Gateshead to meet Owen Bailey. I followed him for a while and Owen's a top player, but he's a great example of the fine line that exists between making it in the Premier League and not.
You as well. So I was signed under 9s at Newcastle, obviously my boyhood club. I remember just being so buzzing because obviously it's your local team, isn't it? And it's kind of what you dream about. And then I just progressed through the age groups and I was lucky enough to sign a scholarship under 16s.
The moment you sign your youth team contract, I don't know about you, but it's like passing your driving test times 10. Everyone wants to be your friend.
It's the best feeling ever, isn't it? For the family and stuff, people who've supported you and helped you along the way. You become someone different really then, don't you? People expect more of you, don't they? And they think of you as somebody.
And everything seems to be going all right. Captain of the under-18s, captain of the 23s, make it onto a pre-season tour with the first team.
Playing with obviously Shelby, Richie, you know, the real sort of big players that the club's got.
And that's such a high, then injury, crash. In October 2019, Owen tore his meniscus, which is a piece of cartilage in the knee. A tough year of rehabilitation followed, but on his return to training, he suffered the same injury again.
I was tearing up on the floor, like you're blank, you know what I mean? There's nothing in, like the lights are on but no one's home and you're so gutted. You sort of lose who you are, don't you?
Yeah.
You're not the footballer anymore. I remember one of the coaches walked past and like we normally have such good good banter and good crack and like he didn't want to look at us and that was kind of when it sunk in, you know, and I started panicking. I was thinking, I'm getting released here. Everything you've worked towards since you were 9, you feel like it's gone just literally like that. You've kind of always been known as someone who plays football and you're not anymore.
Owen is such an optimistic lad, given how difficult his last few years will have been. But I want to meet someone who's had a bit more time to reflect. I read about Devonte Redmond a couple of years ago.
It was unbelievable playing there, like, but I had some good times, man.
You're a long way from Old Trafford now at Wrexham, how's it going?
Tough, you know, like I'll be honest, I didn't think it would go that way. Like 23s football is a development phase. At Wrexham, like every point matters. Like people have got mortgages, families, so it is a dogfight, but you just have to come to terms with it. That's where you are, and you either adapt and it's like sink or swim.
Do you remember the first day that you got called up to the first team?
I think I do actually. I think it was me, Axel Twanzebe and Marcus Rashford. It was probably under Louis van Gaal. I think that year it was like Andy Herrera, Bastian Schweinsteiger, obviously Rooney. But like, I think the three of us would have known we've earned this now. I think we went over and we done well and Louis van Gaal liked us all.
So everything seems to be going well, training with the first team, and then the worst day, the one no one wants to hear.
It's a bit like of a mad story. So I was on holiday and my phone's just started vibrating and thinking, I shouldn't be getting this many notifications. And then I just looked and I seen like Twitter and there was like, I don't know, hundreds of these notifications. And like it was like a released and like a retain list. And I see my name and I was like, wow, like surely not that way.
But did it come as a surprise?
I don't think it was a surprise that was the news. I think it was a surprise how it happened. And because I've been there
so many years to a club and then...
Yeah, I think that was the painful thing. So after that, I just thought I'm just going to have a bit of downtime and just get my head straight. So I remember one day, things were just building up. I just said to my mum, I was going for a drive and I don't even know where I was going. And I remember like 10 minutes in, I just like a flood of tears just came out and I was never like an emotional person. And I just cried in the car. So yeah, I think that was the realisation. I was thinking like, I'm struggling now, like this is getting tough for me, like mentally as well. And obviously I'm not, because I was the kind of person who would kind of hide it. When you come from a background where it might not be privileged, it's working class, you just always think mum needs you, you know what I mean? And you just feel like you've kind of let them down. And like seeing my mum day in, day out, I'm thinking, you sacrificed all your life. Like by now, surely I should be getting to the point where I'm giving back. And to see that all just disappear, you just start thinking like, what's the point? Like, what is my purpose? Do I have a point? I probably was in like a state of almost depression. And you've seen cases where people do end up doing things like taking their life, like sadly.
That there's one of the reasons I wanted to explore it more thoroughly, because I definitely got to a point of depression after leaving full-time football, not knowing what to do next.
You give so much of your life to football that it's like, where do you go from there?
Yeah.
And like in a case like yours is probably quite rare in the fact that you've had that transition. I think a lot of footballers would struggle in that release phase. You've had 10 years of being built up to a point, and then the bubble has just burst. It's over now. And I think that's where lads coming out of the system need help.
It's clear from speaking to Devonte that his release made him feel like he'd let the people closest to him down. So I'm going to go back to Gateshead, visit Owen, see how he's getting on, and speak to his family. How's it going, all right?
Hi, everyone is.
Take over.
And then that's my dad's.
How's it going, all right? Thanks for letting us take over you.
Very, very welcome.
There was a thing you said the other day during the time you were injured. It was that the lights were on, but no one was home. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I think it's really hard when that's what you do day in and day out. It was hard for us as parents, and I'll be honest, I used to say to his dad, I just want him to stop. But he is such a resilient, positive person. But I think as his mum, there were times when I saw him really quite down. What you always find with Owen is he never stays down for long. And I genuinely think as his mum, that I'm probably more proud of that than anything.
How's it going at Gateshead?
Yeah, really well. Really enjoying it, to be honest. Going to Gateshead's been a real sort of godsend, and getting back to playing every week, because I didn't realise at the time I'd only played one full game before leaving Newcastle. So I think now I've played about nearly 18 full games. So I'm just delighted about that.
I think compared to the 23 games that he's played in the past, atmosphere is really good. Yeah. Like there's actual fans going to watch games, and so when I go down, I love it. Yeah, fantastic.
What would you advise other families who might be going through the same thing?
Just talk, because I think, it's quite stressful for parents as well, because you're so upset for your children not being where they want to be. So I think just be open and honest about it. My philosophy was always, Owen is my son who happens to play football. Yeah. And I think sometimes people can get it the wrong way around.
Exactly that.
Which is, he's a footballer who happens to be my son. And I think for me that was always the most important thing.
Speaking to Owen and Devonte, I've learnt that the support isn't always there for players when they leave clubs. Personally, I think clubs need to do more to show these young people that there is alternatives and a life away from football. I loved speaking to Owen, I loved how optimistic he was, and on speaking to his family, it's clear where he got that from. But the line that stuck with me was when his mum said, Owen is my son first and a footballer second. I think the difficulty for a lot of young players is football has been their focus from such a young age, but football is such a small part of their life. There's so much life to live after football.